Hey, how you doing? It's Clayton here from howtodrawcomics.net and welcome to another comic art class. Now these videos are a little bit different. Firstly, they're hosted by the wonderful Ric Bülow, and what we try to do in these videos is get together with a guest instructor and a guest student and help the guest student out with some of their drawing dilemmas and hopefully in the process also giving you value along the way. And today's guest instructor is none other than the talented Rob Marzullo. And in this episode, he'll be showing Anaise Costello how to get a handle on her figure drawing foundations, help her out with adding more gesture to her figure drawings, as well as how to draw eyes. I hope that you enjoy this comic art class. Without further ado, Rick, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 2 of this How to Draw Comics School of Comics, I think Clayton decided to call it. Anyways, episode 2, we had a great start in the first one and we are getting ready for the next one already. Today we have our student with us, Anaise Castillo, and none other than one of the greatest teachers on YouTube, if I do say so myself, Robert Marzullo. Hey guys.
How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
And today, Anaise, you came to me with you wanting something special done, and could you elaborate a little bit about what you were hoping for?
Well, I really would like some lessons on the foundations and how to draw proper gestures and get them right so that I can have more flexible drawings. But I've also been studying a lot of facial anatomy, and I've practiced some eyes, so I'd appreciate anything about that too, because eye sockets are super hard to draw for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, they can be tricky.
But luckily you got one of the greatest teachers in on YouTube, Robert Marzullo, who also happens to be, when we are recording this, to be a birthday boy.
Yeah.
Like 35, right?
Yeah, well, I look 35, but 45.
Okay.
44.
Oh yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Don't make
You're making me
yourself-
older than I am.
No. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's all I need. I mean, I guess realistically, I'm 44 in 9 months. Nobody ever counts the 9 months, you know.
That's true. That's good point. But who's gonna celebrate the day when their parents was having sex after all?
Oh, yeah.
So it's better to celebrate.
Let's just get that out of our mind. Yeah, let's just.
Anyways, we already
brother.
jumping way away from the subject matter of this video. I mean, typical me, and it doesn't help when Robert is here. So let's just get started. Gestures seem to be the subject of the day.
Right. Okay. So with gesture drawing, the thing I like most about the concept of it, or and why it's so important, is because you're basically training yourself to think more fluid and simplistic about the forms of the body. And the body is so complex that if we typically just start drawing, it's very easy to want to draw everything like kind of standing stiff and static, and everything kind of boring and straight on. So that's what happens almost, instinctively or naturally. But then once you start paying attention to figure drawing, you start, looking at the flow through the body. A popular thing to remember is CSI. So those are like some of the more predominant curves you're going to see in the body. I do a lot of S curves, S hooks, and things like that to the body. But if you were to think about it like this, let me do it more like flowing, I guess. You could see that where the body, if you attach a torso, an arm, a leg coming up, leg back, and even the leg, you would go through the torso and kind of come back through the femur, and then the back of the leg, lower leg. So you can start to see how you'll see curves like this through the body and through the poses, and it just allows you to not maybe think so repetitively and so overly structured all the time. So say we put a hand back here, head here, you know, the center of the chest or torso, leg. Now the other thing that I think goes really important with doing this is really simplifying the shapes or the forms of the body. So for instance, like instead of drawing a hand, I'll throw in like a diamond. Instead of a fist, it'll be just a block with a little, you know, little piece at the end for a thumb. I think that goes really well with the idea of gesture drawing so that you don't want to get in there and start thinking too much about detail in the beginning. And then all of a sudden you start dropping in anatomy a little too early. Like you really want to work through the pose first. And then once you feel good about the pose, you feel good about the energy through the pose, you can come back and start revisiting it. So one of the things I recommend is like drawing, you know, maybe like 10 gesture drawings or 20. You know, gesture drawings should be fast. They should be like a, you know, minute or two. If you're going past that, then you're probably, you know, jumping into detail, and then it's fine on certain applications, but if you can draw a bunch of these real quick, then you can really express lots of ideas and figure out, you know, to really get to your best idea rather quickly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you do these from imagination after a while, like accurately, or do you always have to stick to referencing when you draw gestures?
I actually draw from imagination almost every day, but I'm not here to say that drawing from life is ever a bad thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
I've done it a lot from life so that I can remember certain poses. But then if I find myself recreating those same poses over and over, or they start to stiffen up, it's great to go back and study from life. I don't study from life first because I ultimately want my characters to be a little more imaginative. This one's kind of boring. Let me bring that off to the side, but I'll try to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So for instance, if I want an ultra dynamic comic pose, I might start with a, you know, like we'll say this is the spine, okay? And maybe I want to really push the over dramatization of the pose. So I put the torso tilted back really far. The collarbones would be here. And then for an arm, you know, maybe the character's punching up or something. And so I might do just this kind of flip back and forth for the, you know, it almost resembles the bones, but it's more or less just the establishing the lengths that I'm going to apply the forms over. And then for the pelvis, maybe I tilt this back really far. So I draw this little representation of a pelvis. I also think it's helpful too to like not connect everything right away. Kind of skip through and just get the basic idea down. So I'm kind of looking at this first pose and going, well, it's okay, but it's not comic book. It's not super impressive and dynamic. So maybe, you know, try bringing this leg up higher and then back, and then really, again, we're going to draw through the torso and find that back leg and really push this back kind of far. I use these, make sure I'm on a separate layer here. I use these lightning bolts a lot as well. Where's my selection tool? One sec as I get this into place. So these lightning bolts are great because they like make you think about the anatomy as not straight up and down, you know, looking at the upper femur and the knee, and it kind of goes more like this. I mean, that's a little over dramatized, but it's not straight up and down. It's not stacked. So I use these like little lightning bolts to kind of get that in. So now I can bring this arm back even further. I can bring the head back further, maybe even put the cross section a little bit higher up on the face. So all of a sudden it's a little bit more dramatized and dynamic than that first pose. But again, I want to get in all this information with really primitive forms and think more about the direction and the flow that they take so that I don't waste too much time on this aspect of it and I go, well, this will work, or no, that leg's really too far back. You know, let me adjust that, because, you know, the other thing is once you start to push it too far, you might get characters that look broken or just entirely unrealistic. So there's like that balance there, you know, it's like getting stuff that looks expressive, but not so far where it's just like, oh, that's just a bad drawing.
Mm. Yeah.
Like where the torso is turned forward and so is the bottom. In
Yeah, and then
certain
and
female anatomy
right, yeah, and
drawing.
if you twist right, I know it. And if you twist it, and that's probably where, you know, we have to all find our weakest link in the chain and go, okay, you know, I go to draw these dynamic women, but then I make them too segmented or too twisted, and it looks just weird. So then that's when you're going to go back to life, study from life for a while. You know, maybe for you it's 10 poses and you feel better about it, and you come back to the imaginative drawing you're fine, or maybe you need to do 100. You know, there's no set number. It's like when people always, oh, how much of this do I got to do? How much do I got to draw? You just keep going until you get there. And there's no, we're all so different. It's hard when people ask that question and say, well, you know, it might take you 100, 200 poses, but do you have the tenacity and the courage, you know, and do you want it bad enough? And if you do, you'll do that. And then you'll eventually, something will click. And then you'll kind of go, oh, I got that now. I don't need to study that as much. But I totally get what you're saying. Like when you go to draw the female form, it's very easy to maybe make it too boring because you're scared to, you know, separate the upper torso and the pelvis enough. And then a lot of people will just take it way too far, and then it just doesn't look impressive. It looks, you know, a bit ridiculous. So I try to do the same thing, but with the female form, I do use more like flowing curved lines to connect. With male characters, I'm typically thinking more angular, and then with female characters, I want to like, you know, think more flowing. Another good thing about trying to think about gesture of the body is hold on, arm looked really weird. Is like just trying to draw more from your shoulder or your elbow, I guess. You know, not so much where your hands tensed up on the page and you're drawing from your wrist. So if you're drawing from your wrist, you might get lines like this. If you draw from your shoulder, your elbow, you know, it's going to be nicer lines that are more, they're called beauty lines actually. And it's good for hair. It's good for, you know, the female form, you know, getting that flow into the anatomy. So you want to try to pick your hand up off the screen, or I'm sorry, I'm drawing on a screen, so I'm saying screen, but page or whatever you're using. Do you draw traditionally or digitally?
I try to do both because it's best to like have a good balance of it so you can
Right.
always practice no matter what.
Yeah. So in both cases, just really try to, you know, pick your hand up and draw a little bit more from the elbow or the shoulder, and you'll typically get more flow. Uh, but yeah, this is kind of boring, but you know, a lot of times I'll start with a few of these poses and then start to pick up on ideas. So that's kind of why I draw them next to each other to see, okay, if I move the leg up, if I contort this leg inward, will that look better? Well, I'm gonna get a bigger eraser here. So if I bring this up and inward, but even when I'm just constructing a simple part of the body, like the leg, I try to, you know, draw it in with primitive shapes. So the lines might come out, circle for the knee, even though the knee actually starts to resemble more of a box from an angle like this, but you can throw in a couple ovals to get the forms of the knee, and then push it back with a curve for the inside calf muscle, a sweeping line for the front of the leg, and then just attach a foot back here. Even the foot, I'll try to make it look gestural, but really just, you know, simplified until I'm ready to detail the work.
How do you like make sure that you have the right proportions for everything when
You
drawing
know,
gestures?
probably when drawing digitally, it's a little bit too easy to really adjust that stuff, and
Yeah.
that's I can even see that here where I'm like, it's, you know, disproportionate, but I know I can fix it by scaling the artwork back. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Scaling the artwork back and checking it really drew that too big, so that I I can go through this and figure out any proportion issues. But with digital, it's just, again, too darn easy to kind of grab an arm and say, oh, it's too big, and let me go like this, let me rotate it and maneuver it and see if I can get something better out of this. The head looks really weird, so I can rotate that, bring it up, maybe bring it closer to this arm.
It makes it much easier, and compared to like if you had to continue to erase with traditional work, but the basics are the same are the same in my opinion. At least you just have to keep redoing it in whatever way you do it, traditional or digital, until you find the right spot. And as Robert said earlier, keep doing that until it becomes easier to do from memory and you make less and less mistakes by it. It's all about grinding through it, and eventually it will become easier to do. At least that's my opinion and my experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's very much, a volume-based kind of thing. Like, you want to do a lot of studies, and by studies, I just mean practicing as well. But then, for instance, if I find a certain pose, it's just I can't wrap my mind around it. Like, if I can't keep adjusting this and making it look right, then I'm going to go pull reference and try to figure out what I'm really missing. But I also don't scour the internet looking for just the right pose, like this pose. I will look around and find, the arms look funny to me, so I'll look around and find some arms, or I'll just study the torso, and I will just like get the flow of that and then incorporate that into my drawing and then go on. But if it's something I'm really not getting, then I spend a good amount of time studying just that component of the body.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's there's so much there, but I don't look around for just the right pose. I'll even take the time to pose on a camera and take shots. And even though I'm not as curvy as our example here, I will just look through it. Yeah, I know I'll say that, but I'll just look through that and I will draw the female form through that pose. And it seems a bit strange, but it makes so much sense in the regard. I learned this from storyboarding, because storyboarding, the deadlines are really, really tight, and you can't sit around and just, you can't ask for more time and say, oh, I'm not getting it. It's like you just have to immediately pull from reference, and if you don't have the right shot, you have to develop it from what you got in front of you. So you learn real quick that you don't spend too much time trying to find the exact pose, and you use reference any way you have to. One of my art buddies that did it with me, he would call it Frankensteining the art. Like you grab pieces of the puzzle and put it all together and make whatever pose, whatever scene you needed, because you had to knock out like 8 frames in a day. So it doesn't leave a lot of time for you to like sit around and redraw things until you get it right.
No, it doesn't.
So basically, I mean, I tend to do that as well. Also because I have this feeling that if I keep, I know it's not a fact, but with the whole using references, cheating or copying, but I also have that thought back in my mind when I use reference that, okay, I can't use the whole figure, that would just be wrong to do. So I always tend to do as you do, Robert, try and find smaller parts of a whole and put them together into the figure I'm doing myself.
Yeah, and it allows you to not get so stressed out by the process either, because or distracted for that matter, because whenever you jump to, say, like Google, and you're trying to find a good pose for reference and you get this idea in your mind for a scene, it gets overwhelming really quick, I think. So you learn that, oh, I don't really have to find the right pose. I just maybe got to find the arm or the right clothing for this character, or in case of the gesture, just the flow of the body that I'm looking for. But with the whole idea of doing this stuff, you really just have to get used to throwing in shapes and forms that are representational of what you're looking for. Another good thing that goes along really well with with gesture drawing, it's kind of the same concept in a lot of ways, is thumbnail sketching. And I do that a lot. I draw these like little sketches, and that's how I'll work through an entire scene or a page to a comic or whatever. I'll do it all very small and fight the urge to look at it, and try to refine it. So thumbnail sketching is also a really great way. God, I keep getting really bad arms here. Apparently I need to study arms today.
Well, it's a good way to find out. And you said you just woke up, so you haven't been able to loosen up.
No, I'm not making any excuses.
Well,
No,
I'm helping you.
no, excuses lead to weaknesses. I'm good. I'll figure it out. It's my birthday, so maybe that's it. Oh wait, that's an excuse.
Well, it works. But yeah, anyways, I mean, gesture is also more than just the whole body. After all, everything, if you take all the arm in itself can be used as needs some sort of, is a part of the gesture as well. And many people, from what I think, sees gesture as just being the one line to follow. But there's, from what I've learned from Progo and yourself, is gesture should be taken in mind in everywhere, not just that simple spine line, as people call it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Gesture is in everything. So, for instance, if you have a stressed hand pose, for instance, okay, and you want this cool hand with power emanating off it for a comic panel or something, right? Yeah, and Anaïs, do you do comics, or what do you do exactly with your art?
I'm mostly studying, so I'm not sure what direction I'll go into, but as long as I can make art, I'll be happy.
Oh, you're just
So,
like me then. Yeah, I was like, that's the way I felt for so long. Now I'm more focused on comics, but my original younger self was like, if I can just do art, I'll be so happy. That's all I want, just to do art. And art's this huge blanketed statement. Right? There's so much.
it's huge. I know.
Yeah.
It's way too open, but
Yeah,
I mostly care about like characters and like storytelling in portraiture and like very specific stuff too. But
gotcha.
as long as it's art, even if I'm like drawing, I don't know, faces all day, I'll just be happy that I can.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's great. At least you're very open-minded to what you can get into and be happy with, and that's awesome. So like drawing a hand that's maybe stressed, or I call it a stressed hand because I always make them like a little bit more monstrous or something. But we'll say something like this. Even though I'm really just establishing the bones in a sense to the fingers, I'm already thinking gesturally about it. I want this kind of this stressed look to the hand, something that doesn't look so traditional as far as a hand would go. So that's kind of the gesture of it, and it's going to be in everything. So if you can kind of look through the hand and all its complexity and then see that, then attach forms over top of that. We know there's 3 segments to each finger. We know that the fingers all kind of reside at a little bit different orientation. We know the pinky is the smaller one, the middle one is the bigger one. That's why we use it so much to convey how we feel to others. It's our biggest statement. And then just like that, we get like a little, the thumb, it's opposing, it sits off in its own direction. It's actually got a lot of relationship to the pinky, but so just like that, we can get, this is a pretty crude hand, but, oh, that's a bad finger. Hold on a second there. Come on. Sometimes you got to fight your art. Let me soft erase this back. But yeah, so we can get like a little bit of a feeling inside of that pose, and then we want to draw over top of that versus trying to immediately go in and maybe just draw the finger first and then work over. I always find that doing that, especially with hands, it's kind of setting yourself up for disaster. But really, the body is the same way. So I always compare drawing hands to drawing the body. Obviously, the hand is part of the body, but what I'm saying is like they're the two most complex aspects of drawing. So they're the easiest to get confused on and ultimately, not feel like you're a good artist or something, or you're not doing a good piece of art. But if you can learn to look past it, draw in the gesture, draw in the primitive direction and ultimately the underlying structure in a sense, and then apply your forms over top of that, you can generally get a little bit better representation going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, everything you say so far has made sense. So
oh, good. Well, I never know. I'm sitting here yapping. I'm like, are they just sitting over there and going, my God, what is this guy doing?
no, I'm trying to draw along, but
Oh, good, good.
Like, has
That's
he
awesome.
it's very different. My results are very different from yours. So
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, and honestly, this is a little bit different than I'm looking at in my mind's eye, trying to get. That's why we revisit so many parts and so many drawings. And it's nice to have digital where you can just kind of animate your art and make sound effects. But yeah, like it's. I feel like that's weird. I don't know what's weird about it, but
I
but,
think I think your pinky finger is immensely big, I must admit.
hey, watch it.
Oh, it was for reference. Sorry.
How dare you? My pinky finger is normal size. Okay, let me adjust that. I'll adjust that just for you. There you go.
Then maybe
Is that better?
it's my pinky finger that I need to.
Yeah, maybe you have a normally large pinky finger.
No, and abnormally
Small.
small. Yeah.
Yeah, normally small. All right, there we go. So I think it's the form. I just made the form too big because I'm
no,
always
I think the thumb would have a really tough time to be completely on the opposite way pointing from the pointing finger.
Yeah, right. Maybe I
It's
should have brought that
way
in.
too opposed. I cannot spread my fingers that far, so maybe it's just me, but
Well, and that's like, your best reference, obviously your own hand and looking down at it. But then I always tend to take that and go a step further because I'm trying to make something that looks more animated. But yeah, you're on the right. You're definitely right. Looking down at your own hand and paying attention to those poses is so important.
And I
I use
mean, in comics, exaggeration always helps a little bit. Make a little bit more drama, bending the anatomy just slightly, as you said before, also helps. Now it seems like he's trying desperately to grasp something because you twisted the anatomy a little bit more than it probably should have been, but it helps. Like it seems more desperate, more action-packed. Just hand there, or like that. Yeah.
We're here. Since you're saying that, we'll turn it into
into a zombie hand.
yeah. There you go.
So
Put a
now it
little
doesn't matter.
tombstone back here. I just turned 44, so I'll go ahead and put my name on this one.
What? No, that's
My initials anyway. There we go.
REPROB. Ah, some self-promotion right there. Ram Studio Comics, guys.
Yeah, you gotta sign my work.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, that's pretty bad. Anyways, I was just trying to go with what you said about
Yeah.
you gotta have like the veins and the.
But Anaïs.
Yeah.
Sorry. Nice. How long have you been? How long have you been practicing art now?
I think I started about a year ago, maybe 8 months ago, ish.
So you're basically still new and in training. And
Yeah, very new.
I've seen some of your art. You're really good, quick learner compared to other people. So you got that going for you at least.
I hope so.
But
Well,
going back to you sounding a little shocked, like that his looks so much better than yours. Robert has probably done this for 30 years now, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've drawn since I was since I was a little kid, but I started drawing comics pretty heavily at age 14, and I did it just nonstop all the way to about 25, and then I ran a business for a while and got sidetracked, but then I came back to it. But I've been drawing comics for at least consecutively over like 25 years. So, and even if you don't consider it comics, just drawing, almost like Anaïs said, being happy to be an artist, drawing like caricatures for parties. And I used to draw people's logos and their characters for their logo designs and signs. So I've drawn for a lot of time. So the fact that you said you've only been drawing for less than a year, and that you're seeing great improvement is fantastic. But you got a lot of time to really hone your skills, and yeah, big difference in the time I put in versus where you're at. So
I do get a lot of art blocks though, because I think like the amount of information I'm trying to process and like trying to actually execute doesn't really go well because it's like too much that I'm trying to do at the same time. And
yeah,
that's why I have to like always go back to, again, foundations, because one of the first things that I learned was actually how to color and render skin, and that hasn't helped me at all because like I couldn't do a proper gesture. So like my skin might have looked somewhat okay-ish, but my poses weren't like good at all. So I always have had to like go back, and now I feel like I'm stuck in this pattern where I draw something, I'm pretty happy with it, and the day after it, I just completely hate it, and I like go back to study like certain foundational things, like the eye sockets that I mentioned earlier, or like silly little things that might seem that to me feel like very out of place, and then I try to work towards that in my next piece, that I really put a focus on what I think I did poorly in the last one.
yeah,
And that's how I
definitely.
try to learn.
Right. And that's fine. I mean, and that thing you say about looking at it the next day and then seeing all the flaws, uh, I hate to tell you that doesn't really go away. I
It
still
doesn't
deal with
go,
that.
yeah,
No,
no.
not
Yeah,
at
but
all. Not at all.
it's a good thing, because what happens is, I mean, look at it like this. For instance, would you rather that you looked at it the next day and you thought it was better, but then you shared the work on your favorite portfolio site or the, How to Draw Comics Facebook group, and all of a sudden everybody went, man, the eyes are crooked. And you're like, what? But I love it, So it's good that you're seeing the flaws the next day. And sometimes resting your eyes, getting up, taking a walk. I do this
Yeah.
a lot. I'll, get up, I'll go take a walk, go, you know, play a sport or do whatever, something that's totally different from it for a minute, and then come back, and then same thing. I see those flaws and I try to fix it. But the great thing is that you're seeing the flaws. The bad thing would be if you didn't see them.
Yeah, I agree to that. Like something about your eye being more trained after you like watch a lot of great artists and like their work and then compare it to yours and look back at how you can fix certain things. It really
Yeah.
helps to like see other people also go through that struggle. I love seeing like when people post their like work from like 2 years ago compared to now.
Oh
Like
yeah.
really shows like that you can really improve and grow as an artist if you like put in the effort and the right things.
Right. Yeah. It's so inspiring to see that for sure.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. I always get people when they watch the channel or whatever, and they say, I love how you make all these mistakes, but you still get through to the end result you're after. And they see me kind of fight the process that I redraw and redraw and redraw. And I always tell people, like, they say, oh, Rob, you're talented. I'm like, I am not talented. I am somebody that just will not give up. I'll draw it over and over again until I figure it out. But I don't chalk it up to talent. Like I just have this.
Talent doesn't help you. Like I was a talented kid, to put it that way. Like people would like be impressed by the stupid things I'd make and put it on their fridge even though they weren't my parents because it was super cool but
Right.
it doesn't help me at all. Like, okay, it was cool to be like a 6-year-old talented kid that knew that people had 2 eyes, 1 nose, and one mouth, but like it doesn't help you if you don't study the foundations. Art is like a study thing. It's not a talent thing. It's not like something you're just gonna pick up a pencil and like be good at everything forever. You have to keep grinding at it. And it's like something I really
Okay.
learned the hard way,
Yeah.
because I hope to be like as good at it as like people tell you when you're younger. And everyone has that is now doing art has probably been the talented kid, or like a lot of people have, and they received a lot of compliments, and that doesn't help you improve at all. It's like
No, in fact, it
that
probably
really needs to get over, like you really need to get over that, and you really need to study and grind through the
exactly.
work.
Yeah, because all it does when people say, "Oh, you're amazing, you're great, fantastic,"
Yeah, it doesn't
they're feeding
help.
your ego. Yeah, they're feeding your ego, and it's good at times. You know, you want to feel good about your
Yeah,
art.
of
It's nice,
course.
but you don't want this false sense of, I'm just great
No.
at it, and I no longer have to work hard.
Yeah, that.
Because then what's going to happen is you're going to get beat by somebody else that has, talent. I'm doing the little quotations with my fingers in the
Yeah.
air, and then, but they work hard as well. They have the work ethic, and they're going to beat you because they didn't chalk it up to, I'm just this amazing talented individual and I don't have to work hard at it.
I I actually get mad at people when they say, "Oh, I wish I had your talent."
Right.
I don't get mad directly at people, or sometimes I do because I can be a prick. In case you didn't know, and
Starting to figure that out.
no, yeah, if you haven't figured that out yet, there's something wrong with you. But yeah, I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not fucking talented. Shut up. I've been working for almost 30 years on this, really hard, blood, sweat, and tears, literally blood as well at some point. And you just come up and box it into being talented. No, no. I was about to swear there. I'm trying to be a good host, but no, I'm not. This is not talent. This is hard work.
Definitely.
And you just feel like you want to uh, put your hand through the computer and slap the guy on the other side.
Yeah, it's tough because you don't want them to get false ideas about what it took you to get there. It's like, and I always tell people, like, if you look at somebody that's amazing at drawing, you go, oh, this is my hero at drawing, this is one of my idols or whatever. They probably have boxes and boxes of bad art. They probably have sketch pad after sketch pad that they won't take to their shows and show their fans.
No.
One of the
Yeah.
books I like, it's by Todd McFarlane, and I think it's Devil in the Details or something to that extent.
Hmm.
And he shows throughout this book, he shows a bunch of his bad art, and it's amazing. It's so inspiring because he's like one of my idols, and it's like, so I look at that and I go, wow, there was a time when kind of couldn't draw that good. It still was pretty amazing stuff, but it really lacked a lot of the, I mean, definitely lacks all the stuff that he shows now in his work. But it was neat that he didn't let his ego get in the way, and he's like, let me show people how bad
Yeah.
I was and how hard I had to work.
He
And
still he still does that on his Facebook. If he done a bad job at a piece he was working on and he wanted to scrap it, he still sometimes on his Facebook just shares it and says, even great artists can make mistakes.
I think
yeah,
that's the toughest thing actually for an artist. Like the toughest thing they have to learn is to separate their ego from the art they're making.
yeah,
It's like
definitely.
it's like very like often that you see people that they get insulted or offended when you like give them proper critique that is not criticism, that is critique.
Right.
And like other people, they welcome it because they have learned to like separate their ego, I feel like.
Hmm. But
Yeah, definitely.
but it's
Big part of getting better.
and but yeah, exactly as Robert said, because those people who are able to take critique is also those you see progress faster and take it in.
Mm.
Like in the last episode we had I had with the student Katie Margaret Price. She put up a, and I'm honest to say, not good. it was good. It was decent good drawing for a full-size body drawing. And she just asked, "What do I need to do to make this better?" And she got not attacked like in a bad way, but she got stormed with critique that so many others would be put down or completely destroyed about getting, but she took it in, and afterwards when she had listened to everything and worked it out, she came out so much better just for that one single time where she took it in the way she did it, and that was really impressive for me in how she did that and how she learned so fast from it. And that was just amazing for me to see that, and it helps with the point that take in critique and you'll learn faster, you'll become better faster, and
Yeah, it just proves the fact that if you can see your own mistakes, even if they need to be pointed out, you can actually learn to work around them and avoid them.
Exactly.
Definitely, yeah. And that's the thing. Like if you don't see your mistakes, that's more of the problem. And I think everybody can say, oh well, if I look at my work from 5 years ago, I see a tremendous change. I think anybody that's dedicated a reasonable amount of time to their craft can attest to that. But if you get better at seeing your flaws on a monthly basis, then you're going to be able to really grow faster. It's not going to be as easy to pinpoint them. And there's also the idea that sometimes you're going to be doing something right and not see it as well, and then kind of get away from that. So you have to really kind of pay attention to your work in a linear way or a timeline way, and say, oh wow, like 6 months ago I was doing these poses and they came out really good. What was I doing right there? It's actually one of the reasons I really recommend a lot more people record their art process. It opened my eyes when I started doing my YouTube channel, when I started sharing more videos online. I can go back and look at my old videos now and go, oh, whoa, I was doing something right or wrong in this instance. What was I doing there? And I can see it more vividly. And so it's kind of neat watching a time lapse of your work, because you can also catch your mistakes and your successes. Because again, sometimes you'll actually forget you're doing something right and start moving in another direction, and all of a sudden you need to go back and relearn what you used to know, I guess, in a sense.
So that's why your videos have so many views.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if you go in back to watch them.
Yeah, oh, it's me. No, it's not me. Come on.
But,
some of them. Some of them.
Another prick joke, I know.
And I agreed with you until I realized what you were saying. Like, wait a second.
Wait a minute. Kidding aside, you've been putting up some really quick sketches now. All of them having completely different gesture points, except for the last two. I think is pretty much the same in the way they are standing, but with the legs and arms, they're completely different. And that brings me back to what we spoke about, that if you can separate the gestures in like just from limb to limb and make a completely different position, and still have it as much impact and life as the old one, as the other one. So as long as you remember just there's gesture and everything when you draw, and not just that big line, I think that's one of the most important things to remember when talking about gesture, that it's not only just the spine, that line you call the spine, it's everything.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of times what I do is, if I don't think I've used gesture as much or as efficiently as I can in a lot of these, but which may mean I need to go back and study from life some more and really pay attention. But I would say a lot of it, I look at like the flow, and I try to again, simplify the anatomy. So if I'm drawing an arm, I'll just quickly go, something like that for an arm, really oversimplified, so that I can quickly draw out the pose and see if this is going to work. But then when I think about the flow of the anatomy, for instance, like with the arm, I just did a lesson on this, I think, but the shoulder coming over and down, then it coming back up, the bicep being here, going back up, and there's that lightning bolt again, and then coming down, here's the wrist. And then what happens is it's like pretty easy to kind of connect it all together and get that shift in the shapes of the arms. Because if not, you might do something like this where you're starting off with cylinders, and then you go to draw an arm, and you might try to draw on the same forms, but then they might look too stacked. So I try to, which really that looks like a masculine, this looks like a feminine arm, but basically you just want to like stagger them a bit with the anatomy. So the flow of it again is like shoulder, bicep, forearm, then the wrist is down here. And that's the directional flow that I see of the arm before I start to jump into anatomy. And again, that applies to everything. So you got like the leg is a forward bend, back bend, down to the toe, and the heel back here. So all these simplistic kind of representations of the way things are. And I guess this could be the bone structure, but the bones actually don't curve like that. So it's a mix between, thinking about the bone and the anatomy together. And again, the flow of it.
Yeah.
Now, Anaïs, is there a certain pose you want to see me try to draw, or a certain thing that you want to see covered, or do you want me to jump over to eyes?
I'm thinking maybe eyes, because like it could really help me.
Okay. You okay with that?
Yeah, we got at least 15 minutes left, so we can spend that on eyes. I think we hit the gesture points really, really well.
Okay.
And boom, suddenly a big arm.
Yeah, I'm always practicing muscles.
Oh, I can tell from your videos. You're, and it's a good thing to do.
Okay, so now let's see. For eyes, let me ask you this: what part are you struggling with the eyes themselves? Are you struggling making them look rounded or open, or like the skin's going around the spherical eye itself? Like, do they look flat? What's the problem?
I need them to look more alive. Like usually my eyes tend to end up looking flat, despite that I think I am doing the anatomy correctly, like adding everything in and like the iris, and they still look lifeless to me when I try to draw them.
Okay, so are you drawing the spheres first? Circles, spheres, whatever?
I'm drawing like I saw in a Cynics video, I'm drawing what is it called? Like a square, but not a square.
Rectangle? A cube?
No, like really a square, but like a rounded one for each eyeball.
Oh,
And then
gotcha.
you can go over that to like show the direction the eye is pointing.
Okay, well let me show you this. So what I'm doing is I'm applying structure. A lot of times I'll go with one or the other. I'll either do a separation of rectangular shapes, and this is kind of like drawing perspectively, right? If these went back, they'd converge to a vanishing point. So I'm just kind of imagining a perspective first. But sometimes I'll draw these big circles in. Sometimes I get the face in place first. It doesn't matter really. It's just whatever you're most comfortable with. But say we start with these sphere like shapes, circle-like shapes, and then I also get in an angle. Okay, so this isn't me drawing, Kermit the Frog with an angry face. This is just a slant to the eyes, because I always feel like the eyes, point up to the back. Not on everybody, but the way I like to draw them. So I'm picturing that the tear ducts are down here. The point of the eyelashes will be back here. Not in this exact area, but the angle that I'm thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So then what I'll do, let me just tone this back, put a layer over top. So I'll draw in the shape of the eye, and with the eye, I tend to draw a curve going back to this point and like a little flick up. So back to, remember before I said the beauty lines like this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that earlier in the video, or earlier in this recording, I guess? So basically the beauty line concept applies to hair, eyes, female form, a lot of things, but it's basically just that little flip up that you get. It's actually a little bit more like this would be a beauty line, but that little flick up that you get to hair, and again, it applies to even things like this with the eyelashes. So that little flick up right there. But I'll go from one side to the other and try to emulate the shape. I might nudge these lines or curve. I'm trying to get just the right curve, but sometimes I find it helpful to go from one side to the other so that I can, figure out that one portion of the eye first. And then again, I get that little downward bend here for the tear duct. Then I work on the bottom portion of the eye. I want to make sure that the curvature from the top and the bottom are noticeably different. I feel like right here in a realistic eye, it'll generally slope in and bump up. I guess we could leave that, but typically for my comic style, I'll leave that out. So there's certain parts that I think about realistic eyes, and there's other parts where I just stylize. Stylize, not style eyes, if that sounds good. I have a bit of a lisp, so I don't want this to get confusing. All right, so like indent to the eye there. Now, you said you have a hard time making them look rounded?
No, like alive, like readable,
Oh,
like
alive.
believable. So
Okay.
I don't know how else to explain it, but I feel like my eyes always look flat, like in the sense
Okay.
of like they have no emotion. They're just like, I don't know how else to say it, really.
Okay. So one of the things that I think makes them look more alive is doing the glares just the right way. The other thing is, if you're going for realism, you're going to show something like this bottom lid, the depth to
Yeah.
the bottom eyelid. So you're actually going to draw that in. I actually leave, this is another thing that I leave out for my comic drawing because I fill in these big heavy eyelashes right there. But if you want a more realistic depiction, you're going to get this depth because our skin's actually pretty thick around our eyes, but we take it for granted when we're drawing it, definitely in the beginning. But the more you pay attention to it, you notice that there's actually a pretty noticeable heavy ridge. And you're generally going to see that we almost have the perspective we're looking down at these eyes a little bit. So we're going to see the bottom eyelid and not the top as far as this ridge is concerned. So, but again, for the stylized representation that I do, I generally will leave that out. Let me get in some of this other bit. Like I'll put in this bigger, heavier eyelash like this. So I like to group them into a shape. It's just easier. It looks more stylized and comic book-esque. And as we get down to the bottom, I'm going to try it with a mix of the two, like a comic style and the realistic style I was speaking of with the ridge to the eye. But I generally will fill that in for the way that I like to do them anyways. I put a bit of a back bend for the bottom eyelashes. And then we'll have her kind of looking back and up a little bit. The iris is roughly 1/3 the width of the entire eye. But in this case, I'm going to go a little bit larger. Again, that's a style interpretation. That, well, if those are off, I can usually never tell if they're off until I drop in the pupils for some reason. The pupils make it apparent if they're really off. So the pupils, if you want to make the eye look more seductive, you bring it closer to the eyelashes. If you wanted to look more alert or scared, you're going to bring the entire iris with white on both sides of it. You know that, right? Like drawing fear.
Yeah, I end up looking like my eyes end up looking very afraid, like a lot, because
Yeah,
I
so you
put
might
it
just be,
too low.
you
Yeah.
might want to play around with the position of the pupil and the iris. That does a lot for expression. And then I like to put this drop shadow, rounded drop shadow onto the iris. So notice how I'm rounding to the perimeter of the iris as I put this in. And then a nice heavy glare to make the eye look more wet. Again, it kind of makes it look a bit more dimensional. And then I'll generally break off these larger bulk of eyelashes with just a few little designed, kind of, again, those beauty lines, those little flicks of eyelashes that you might get. And you can go as crazy or as simplistic as you want here. But obviously for realistic eyes, you're going to draw more individual eyelashes. But for style purposes, I do it this way. A little bit of rendering. But again, if you're going more realistic, instead of doing these little separated render lines, you're going to do like this kind of back and forth shading that goes around like this.
Especially with coloring, it's
With what?
especially if you're using color if you color it in.
Definitely, yeah. In fact, that's a nice combination with the comic style. You can render it like this for comics, but then you can come back and do the colorization with that texturing, and it generally will look pretty cool. And then as far as the eyebrows, I just do kind of a simplistic version where I bring them back and then I angle them. Bring them back and angle them. But then the one side has got to be more narrow than the other to keep with the idea of perspective. I think the nose line's a bit weird, but... Oh, nice. Does this give you any questions or any ideas?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow along, but
Okay.
she looks cross-eyed with me, but that's probably because I tried to draw it way too small.
Now you're making me think the mine's cross-eyed. Hold on.
No,
Let's
no,
check
it's not. It's
No,
not.
Okay.
yours is like
Yours is good. Yours is good.
But
I just,
I remember I struggled with the same thing for a very long time when it came to eyes not making me cross-eyed. Again, it's something you'll learn the more you work it out. And but I have to say this approach is the one I've been taught as well. Like start with a normal circle because that's your basic size of your eye apple after all. And start with that instead of doing an oval shape like others do. Like I think is what Anaïs meant.
not an oval, but like it's
I
a
think she means
circle, but
this.
like a
It's
diamond shape. Like it's a square,
like
but
that.
no, not like that. Like really a rounded square, but it's like more a
Like,
diamond.
like that.
No, that's a triangle.
Wait, hold on. I'll get it. Like this. Like this. Hold on. Like this. What in the world are you talking about? All right, never mind. Sorry.
I can show you the eye I did yesterday, maybe for critique.
Oh yeah, let's see it.
Yeah, for sure. Just you know how to share, right? Oh, you.
I linked it. So have the process of it somewhere.
Yep. I'm also sharing it here for a second. This actually, in my perspective, looks really good. Are you watching it, Rob?
How do I? Yeah, I don't see it. Do I click on the bottom screen?
No, there should be a message box to the right when you click on the screen.
Message box to the right.
No? Okay.
No, I'm not seeing it.
Hang on. I'm so I'm so awesome. I got you on Facebook after all. So.
Thank you.
Yep. I know the big guys.
I'm not big.
Not in that way.
I'm a little guy.
Come on, you're You were the first one on Facebook that I ever came to meet and followed for a long time before I realized there were actually others. But yeah, I sent you the
Not seeing where it popped up though.
on Facebook.
Oh, you sent it on Facebook.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's easier. I'll just edit this little whoopsie-doo out.
Okay, uno momento.
That means one moment, Anaïs. Just
Are you translating for? Oh, nice. Yeah, see that? Now that's this is Anaise's painting.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, it's you got the gloss looking like a window in the eye. Is that the right one?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, that looks sharp.
But like,
You want me to critique it?
yeah, because like there's something going on with the upper lid and eye socket that I am not quite.
Put it over to the screen. It's you're sharing, if you don't mind.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, hold on. Let me close this out. Bring it over. Hold on. That one?
Yes, that one.
Okay. So yeah, let me try to import this into the software here, and then I can. Or I guess I could just move the one screen. Oh, let's start. Do that? No. Okay, never mind. I'll do it like this. I'll just bring this one over, scale it back, and then I got to move these around. Come on. Move over, you stupid screen. Okay, so now, yeah, I think it's a good eye. I definitely like the paint work you've done. And, obviously there's a little bit of differences, what painting will allow you to do versus line art. But what I would probably say, I like the wider eye. I like the angle that you got. I would say the curve here needs to be a little bit more sweeping, not so rigid, but I see what you're doing here. You're trying to get that realism thing of where it tucks back into the eye, the tear duct like that.
Yeah.
And then as far as up here, I think what you got, it looks a little bit like contradictory forms for the expression. So you either get a nice visible top eyelid like this, and then sometimes you get a little line coming off this way where it meets the brow. You got to remember that this part right here is just really like your eyebrow. Sometimes it sags down on people that are elderly.
Hey.
Oh, yours does that? Sorry. Or on Richard, but usually it's elderly people. But but then so if you put that in too heavily, it'll kind of take the youthful look away. The other thing is some people just don't have that visible. Like it's more, I'll show you, like it's more like this, where you see part of the eyelid here and their brow just naturally comes down lower. So you either have to put that shape over here to make it look like that, and then in which case the brow is going to be all smooth, or not all smooth, but smoother as far as this shape goes. So like I said, to me it just looks like you're kind of contradicting either the expression or the way that skin needs to look there. You kind of have to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And then in which case the eyebrow would be up like this or something. And then you would only see a little bit of that here. Then the rest of that eyelid would definitely get covered by eyelashes. And then that's the part I was going to mention there with the eyelashes. I would just be a little bit more, they just kind of span around the eye like this when you're going for a more realistic look. So it gets tricky right here where they start to pop up and actually come towards camera, and then they go back like that a little bit. So I would probably just lean towards going out more like that. And then if you want more realistic, you're going to dip them down in front of the eye a little bit like that. See, and I even struggle with that now because I'm so used to making the stylized version. So I group them all together, which makes my life a lot easier.
I usually, even when I paint portraits, I usually start out by grouping them all together and then afterwards begin to just add a few hairs, like it seems like you did, Anaïs, instead of
Yeah,
drawing
yeah,
them.
I try to do that.
It's
But
just
I,
easier. It's just easier than drawing
yeah,
every
it is.
single eyelash.
Right.
That's just stupid. I try.
Yeah, like I linked the process photo too. Like I started with a pretty like stylized eye.
Oh well, I'm gonna send that as well then.
Oh yeah, send it over. But yeah, I think you're doing a really nice job. I mean, I love the paint effect that you got there. You didn't make the mistake of leaving the eye white, which is awesome because so many people when they're first doing eyes, this area, the white of the eye, they take it literal. You've got some nice colorization in there. I love the window effect off the gloss and the glare. You've got the little wet look on the bottom of the eye, which is important. So yeah, overall, I think it's a really good painting.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you think this is not as good as it is because it's actually really good.
Yeah, you're pretty hard on yourself, aren't you?
I don't know. I just felt like the socket and like the top eyelid and the bottom eyelid isn't like as done as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I see.
And
I see. You might have a point there, but those things doesn't ruin what else is really good. And I mean, even though that the eyelids and all that is not bad, I've seen far worse being done. I mean,
Oh yeah, I think it looks
granted,
great. But
granted, I agree with you that it could be better, but it's not as bad as you made it out to be.
okay.
But
Like
yeah,
yeah,
I
I
I
see.
the one that I did like a month ago.
But I agree, Rob. She is really hard on herself. I've seen a few of her artworks and how she's been thinking about them, and she is hard on herself. And that, as I said a little before, or at least I've said earlier in either a podcast or in another episode, is that it's good to be hard on yourself as an artist.
right.
I'd rather be hard on myself than not be, because if I'm not hard on myself, I won't get better. So when artists are hard on themselves, to a degree, of course, to a degree, those are the artists I want to help and help improve in any way I can. And I also think that's one of the reasons I thought of Anaïs. I keep saying Anaïs. I think that's also one of the reasons I thought of her as one of the first to be a student in this thing here, because she's so hard on herself and she just wants to become better, and that's the kind of students I want to be in these episodes.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think that, you know, you're going to get better because you're so hard on yourself that you're looking at it more critical. You know, as long as that doesn't turn negative for you, you know, you want to love what you do, but then there's that other side of it where you love it so much and you think everything's so great, and then somebody rains in on your parade and they say, no, you're messing up here, here, and here. You need to go study your anatomy, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you're like, your heart's broke, and then you're wondering if you should just, you know, go flip burgers.
Go flip burgers.
Not that burger flipping is bad. I love burgers, but I'm just saying, like, you know,
Now you're getting death threats emails from McDonald's workers.
right?
Yeah.
Nice.
How dare you? No, but I think we've learned a lot of things and we're actually coming up on the hour here. So
Okay.
Anyways,
yeah.
so before we start moving completely out and saying our farewell, so is there a few last words you want to share with the student?
Just really keep at it. Really dedicate a specific amount of time, and it sounds like you're doing that already. But don't expect. You've been drawn for again. How long? 8 months.
Yeah, 8 months.
Yeah, you're doing amazing if you've only drawn 8 months. So you're probably going to see huge strides in your improvement. Don't get frustrated if you see stagnation and areas where you hit some mental blocks. And you kind of talked about a little bit of art block. Yeah, sometimes it happens more significantly, and all you could do is try to cope with it and develop a process for getting through it as effectively as possible. The main thing is just accepting the fact that it's going to happen and it's okay and that you will get through it, that it's not something that you need to combat as much as, you want to take steps to free yourself of it. So listen to music, take breaks, take a vacation, go spend time with friends and family, reset your batteries, all that good stuff. But just take solace in the idea that, as long as you stay consistent, you're just going to keep getting better and better and better. And I mean, that's the most exciting part, I think, in a lot of ways about being an artist, is just watching the improvement and letting it happen somewhat organically, other than be proactive, practice every day if you can, and, don't take large breaks, but you do need breaks to kind of reset your batteries.
Well, thank you. That was some really nice words to end
Yeah,
up with.
thank you.
Yeah, you're doing great.
You really are, Anaïs. If I had been that good from the start, I would have been somewhere completely different. But now, I mean, I am decent, cough cough, but I didn't learn that fast. So you got
it's making me feel a little bit. I'm kind of second guessing myself over here.
Should we just kick out of the conversation?
Yeah, maybe we should go get different jobs and let her handle the art thing.
Yeah.
No, please don't. I cannot draw an arm, or a hand at all.
Now you've learned gestures a little better, so hopefully that helps you do it even better now. Hopefully you'll
Yeah,
learn
I hope so.
Hopefully you'll learn something from this. I mean, I did.
Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it.
I really like the stylized eye tips, because it will really help me to set up a foundation before I even go realistic. And the tip of not only thinking about the S curve, the spine curve, and the lightning bolt for the arm, and the hand gesture that really stick too.
Oh, good. Yeah, hopefully some of it came through. It was a little bit, it was a little bit up in the air as far as what to share and how to share it. But it looks like you're off to a really great start. Just keep at it. Make time each week to study the things that you feel that you need to study, that you feel a little bit lackluster in that area. But also make time to do the stuff that you shine at. Like your eye painting is beautiful. So you're getting a boost of confidence with what you're good at, but you're also making time to study the things that you need some work on.
I'm gonna keep going at eyes and noses and lips, hopefully, after that, so that I can do portraits.
Yeah.
Doing what you're doing is basically what we are saying, because you're well on your way with pretty much everything we've seen from you so far.
Definitely.
That being said, thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For you watching this, thank you for watching. And if you have any desires for subjects, or if you want to be a part of this as a student, feel free to look into our How to Draw Comics group on Facebook, and look for a future announcement from me where I will be looking for students, and maybe you'll be the lucky one to sit in a class with Robert Marzullo in another time, if Rob decides to want to show up again.
Oh, of course. No, I've had a blast. I'm always willing to be part of it. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
And I'm honored to have you, and that you're willing to help as always. But before I go completely, plug your stuff a little bit, Rob, because people need to know who you are if they don't know already.
Yeah, you can type in my name, Robert Marzullo. You're going to see, Google it or whatever. You're going to probably see some weird stuff, but you'll see like my YouTube channel, my Learn to Draw Action Heroes book. I've got a bunch of courses on Udemy and Skillshare and my Gumroad. So yeah, any support is always welcomed and appreciated, but check out the YouTube channel and comment on a video and let me know what you think of the content.
And you can also find him through our website, howtodrawcomics.net. That will bring you both to his sites that he just mentioned. With that,
Yep.
thank you for your time, and I will see you all in the next episode.
All right, bye. Good hanging out with you guys. Take care.
Bye.